Hello, I'm Cheryl Meyer, and I'm otherwise known as Cheryl M. Health Muse. And what my goal is to inspire you to lead a healthier life. So when I proposed my podcast, I proposed that we present it in two different segments. The first one is It Feels Good to Feel Good, Future-Proof Your Health, where I get to share everything I have learned to return my health back to relative wellness and to live a pain-free life in spite of the fact that I have autoimmune disease. But the second part of my podcast is this episode, and that's Tell Me Your Story, the Health Muse is in. My concept with this is it's all fine and well that you hear me tell my story, but I get a lot of, it's all fine and well that it worked for you, but it's not going to work for me. And I wanted you to hear that there are lots of people out there that have made changes in their lifestyle that have supported their health and brought them back to relative wellness. We all have a couple things in common. We all owned our own health. Whatever the doctor was suggesting we did was going on a parallel path to us making these lifestyle changes where we did things that cleaned up our toxic load. We all pay attention to our body. You'll hear jazz in the background because I want you to listen to the rhythm of your health, and I want you to pay attention to what your body is telling you. My body had been trying to tell me that I was going to topple over into toxic load for some time. I just wasn't listening. So if you clean up your lifestyle and if you listen to your body, you have a very good chance not of being deprived in any way, but returning to feeling darn good. And that's what these podcasts are really all about. So thank you for joining me. This is going to be a Tell Me Your Story, the Health Muse is in episode, and I hope you enjoy it. And I hope that we all inspire you to lead a healthier, happier life. Thank you. Hello, welcome to another episode of Tell Me Your Story, the Health Muse is in. We have a wonderful guest this morning, especially if any of you are single moms out there raising children, because that's, and I hope I don't mispronounce your name, I should have. Murielle? Is it Murielle?
Yes.
Okay, that's what Murielle's passion is, and we're going to spend the majority of our conversation talking about the work she's doing with other single moms, because she's a single mom who's raising 3 children. But first I want to talk to her a little bit about her health history, because she too had some illness and made significant changes in her lifestyle that brought her back to wellness. So let me read her bio quickly. Murielle Fellous was originally born and raised in France and now lives in the United States, where she's raising 3 children. Because of her own personal challenges that she underwent as a single parent, she founded the Single Moms Doing It All coaching and podcast, because she wants to make sure that no single mother has to struggle like she did alone. And she's learned all kinds of things to help single mothers with their life and raising their children. As an intuitive life coach, Murielle is helping single moms prevent the downward spiraling into fear, overwhelm, guilt, powerlessness, and circumstantial depression. And then she teaches them how to co-create and co-parent with the universe. Since you might not have a partner helping you co-parent, it doesn't mean that you're alone. A big portion of Murielle's work is based on emotional mastery and energy alignment through a mind, body, and spirit approach. So I want you all to help me in welcoming Murielle to my podcast. Hello, it's so nice to have you here.
Hi, Cheryl. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I want you to start by telling us your health history, because that's where I sort of started with these podcasts. But passion, which is what we're going to go to, is a significant part of people's health. So we're going to quickly go into what your passion is and what you're doing to live out your passion. So start there.
So my health history, I had to face a disease back in 2017, I contracted hepatitis B, and I almost died from it because I was in the hospital, and for 2-3 days, my body didn't react to the medication. So the doctor literally told me, I'm not sure if your liver is going to give out or give up. We don't know. And they flew me in emergency in a medical airplane to Stanford in California, where they have a department that specializes in liver transplants and liver disease. So I ended up, my body started reacting with the medication and getting better. And when I got out of the hospital, they told me, of course, that I will probably need a transplant in the future, that usually people who have Hep B, they take medication for life, and it may end up transforming into a liver cancer, etc., etc., etc. Because I'm a coach for many years now, I work with mindset, energy. I was already eating pretty well, but I knew that it was only what they knew about the disease. I refused to accept their prediction that were about gloom and doom. And I know the impact that our brain can have on our body, and our mind and our thoughts can have on our body. So I let them talk. I took the medication as long as I needed to, because I needed my body to develop the antibodies to be able to fight that virus that always stays in your body. And it took me about, how long did I take I took the pill for about between 1.5 years to 2 years. And I started changing. I was already practicing some relaxation technique. I had a spiritual practice. I really went to the next level regarding my faith, regarding daily practices, because I knew that that was the key to me healing. And so as far as food, I tried many things. I tried being a vegetarian. I tried being vegan. I don't like eating meat, but somehow when I was not eating it at all and not eating any animal proteins, my body started craving it. So I trust that the body will tell us what to do. And in fact, that was very funny, because when I was sick with Hep B, when I was still in it, I was craving pears. And I started researching, and I saw that pears are good for the liver. And so many cravings that were actually the messages from my body to heal, to eat that, to heal. It's fantastic the way that we're guided.
I'm a huge believer that every morning when you get up in the morning, you should look in that mirror and ask your body, how do you feel? And then you need to get quiet enough to hear what your body has to say. Your body's very smart. And it will tell you what it needs you to give it, what it needs you to feed it, what it needs you spiritually to be doing for self-care. Your body will tell you. And I too did the vegan approach and the vegetarian approach. And the bottom line was, although I don't eat large portions of meat, my body feels best eating meat. I would have been happy to do any of the three, but I now eat enough meat that fits up the palm of my hand with a meal, because I feel better when I eat that way. But until you know how your body's talking to you, you don't know what that is.
Exactly. And I don't even eat meat every day. I eat when I crave it. I eat some fish. I eat, but all very high quality
Right.
animal sources.
Yeah, I like to eat meat that is eating his own species specific diet. So it's only wild fish. It's only grass-fed, grass-finished beef. It's pastured chickens who get to eat the bugs and the twigs and the grass. It's the animal that gets to eat what he was made to eat. That's what we should be putting into our body.
Exactly. And as far as wheat and flour, wheat, I have a very high intolerance to wheat, so I try to avoid it. Even the gluten-free and all that, I try to avoid it. And I try to stay with a minimum of grains, mostly rice. And same thing, not in large quantity. I believe that we need to vary the food that we eat, and we shouldn't always eat the same thing.
Right. And if we
And
don't
so,
vary, that's where sensitivities sometimes come from.
yeah. And so I was covered on food, the food aspect of it. Where I had to really intervene was with because even if you don't accept a diagnosis, there is sometimes a low grade level of fear because they're doctors, because they told you that, it stays in your mind. So I don't know if your audience is familiar with emotional freedom technique, tapping.
I do a version of tapping, but I was not trained to do tapping. I
Okay.
do it as a method to release my stress as
Okay.
one of the things I do during the day.
And so I use tapping to calm down my fear, because tapping will actually, it's a mix for people who don't know what it is. It's a combination between ancient wisdom, because we use the meridians that they use in acupuncture, with modern psychology to literally intervene on the stress response in the brain, which will have a chain of biochemical effects and even redirecting the blood flow from your brain to your limbs, which you need when you're attacked, but you don't need to be like that 24/7, because you're on alert and your body thinks that there is a danger. Anyway, it creates inflammation. So I use tapping to calm my fear down. Now I use tapping with my clients, and it's absolutely phenomenal, the results that you can get on even on trauma, on all kinds of issues. So that's what I did for myself, calming down the fear, eating well, and intervening on my own thoughts. I develop a three-step process that I teach to my client, and I always tell them, I call it ADD because my son is ADHD, and it had me reflect on many, many things. And I was like, sometimes being ADD with your negative thoughts wouldn't be a bad thing, like letting it go and focusing on something else. So I said, that's interesting. So I created a process with the acronym of ADD. Like the first A is awareness. When you're thinking something that doesn't serve you, doesn't serve your body, doesn't serve your life, you need to have awareness of how you feel. And the second D is for decide if that's what you want to create your reality with. Like, let's say you are thinking thoughts about fear. Even if you don't know exactly the exact thought, you can feel the fear in your body. So decide, do I want to create my life feeling fear in my body? We know that when we focus on something, that's what we see outside in the world, because of the way that the brain is designed, because of the reticular activating system. And on an energy level, I always explain that it's like an elevator. If you stop at the floor of fear, you're vibrating at that frequency, you're going to encounter people, situations, things that will bring even more fear. So I guess you decide that you don't want to create your reality with that. And the last D is for discard. So you discard that thought and also decide or define your life with another fear. So, of course, it's not always easy to do in the moment, but if you see that you can, that's why when the tapping is useful to calm yourself down, so you can go and pick a thought that is serving you better. So I did that, I don't know how many times a day. Every time I had a doubt or a fear about my health, I applied that process. I tapped if I had to. And I really went to the bigger picture, is that we are here on earth to experience, to enjoy, to create, and that's where I was already coaching people. I was coaching back then on relationships. Sorry. And that was my passion. So I really made sure that even though I was sick, even though things were challenging, I was still doing something that I was passionate about on a daily basis. Then fast forward a few years, not that many years actually, maybe a year, my kids became teenagers, and some of my kids started acting out in, they love to explore in sometimes very dangerous ways. And I started developing a fear that one of these days I would find one of them dead in the street, because they go to parties, you never know what's going on. And I started developing anxiety, and I was still not cured from Hep B. I was still not healed. And all that together, I spiraled without realizing in a depression, what I call a situational depression. I had too much on my back. I was a single mom, the teenagers acting out. My daughter decided to stop going to school. We had to find an online school. It was so many different factors that brought me down slowly in spiral downward without me realizing that I was going there, until I got to a point where it was obvious that I was depressed. And I was waking up in the middle of the night with scenarios of horror in my mind. And I said, okay, I'm depressed. That's always, as anything else, you have to become aware of what's going on to be able to heal it.
Big step is admitting it and knowing that you're going to do something about it.
And my friends were telling me, go and get some antidepressant. I said, no. My depression is not like, some people have an imbalance in their brain that is chronic, or mine is situational. Mine comes from the way I live my life, the way I think, the way I perceive, the way I act. So I have the tools. I teach those tools. It's just time to practice them more. And so same thing, I used the tapping, I used the thought intervention, I used a lot of brain training where you have an idea of what kind of scenarios you're going to face that are going to lead you towards fear or anxiety. So you know that in advance. It's just a question of visualizing yourself and wiring your brain to react differently. Instead of going on autopilot towards fear, maybe going more neutral, because you can go from totally negative to completely positive. The gap is too wide. And that's why some people can't become better, because they target something that is out of reach. Go neutral. And once you're neutral, you can go slowly toward the positive. So I literally became my own client, and I became my own coach on steroids. And I really did everything I knew, but more. And I bounced back.
It's easy to coach it in somebody else.
Yes.
Don't do it for ourselves. And when you took ownership of it, accepted it, and knew you had the tools, was your first huge step back to wellness.
Yes. And then when I was better, I knew the pain. And I still have teenagers. So I still deal with some of the same scenarios, but my approach is completely different. So that changed everything, because the perception is different, because the reaction it's more a response than a reaction. Life becomes easier. So I wanted to really help other moms who are confused, afraid, in pain, in fear, get the tools. And that's what I changed my direction with my business, from coaching on relationships to really specifically coaching single moms or moms with teenagers.
Okay, before we get into what you're doing with other moms, have you been tested? Do you still have Hep B in your body?
So Hep B will be forever in my body. Okay. But now what happened is that the antibodies outnumbered the virus. So it's protecting, and I don't have to take meds anymore.
Okay, that's huge. So that's what I wanted everybody to hear, because I knew you had been successful. And Hep B is something that's pretty prevalent out there these days. So I wanted people to know that there are tools that they can use to bring it back to an even keel, and for the antibodies to overrule what the virus is doing in your body.
Yes.
Okay, now I want to hear all about what you're doing with other moms with teenagers, because those are the danger years in parenting.
Yes. So I live in Las Vegas, and here marijuana is legal. And I know that young people are not supposed to use it, but getting those messages everywhere that it is safe of course, it has an impact on their brain. And when I talk to teenagers, they're like, it's better than alcohol. Alcohol is legal. Why? It's there is not such a dependency. And it's very hard because they don't believe what we say. And when I tell them is, okay, maybe they have studies that you don't get addicted to the herb itself, but you get addicted to wanting to be high. That's also an addiction. That's an emotional addiction. And so there are all those things out there. There are, the party drugs there. And and more recently, one of my kids was diagnosed also with depression and tried to kill himself. So that's another level. So I have moms who come to me and they don't know what to do. I remember recently I had a client who came to me and she said, my daughter is smoking weed, drinking alcohol, she's out of control. And she felt so much as a failure because she couldn't control her that it was sad to see for me. And I told her, listen, if we work together, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your daughter. I'm not going to give you tools to interact together. What I'm going to do is work on you. Because if you want to be helpful to her, you need to be in your strength. You need to be centered. You need to be valuing yourself too, because she had also an approach where her daughter was disrespectful to her and she felt that she was weak as a mother. So that's what we worked on. We worked on knowing where you have control and where you don't have control. And unfortunately, we don't control anybody. That's an illusion. We don't.
No.
Sometimes we don't even control ourselves. So,
And if you push someone, whether it's a child, a teenager, or an adult, when you push someone, they push back. They
yes.
don't hear you. They don't react the way you want them to react. They react in the opposite way. So
And so that's true. That means I told her, of course, you need to have rules. It's not about being a doormat. But when you're talking about pushing, we as human beings, there are things that people can perceive about how we see them. And sometimes it's the tone of voice, the words. But even if if you speak, let's say you spoke in a very calm tone of voice with words that were okay, we radiate some energy. And we have subtle cues, even in our facial expression, that can be perceived on an unconscious level that will tell other people, am I coming here to attack you? Am I coming here to overwhelm you? Or are you safe with me? And when you can't come from a space in you that is more neutral, centered, trusting that you have what it takes and that they also have the same guidance that you do, the same inner wisdom, the same connection to whatever you want to call it, the universe, the field of information, God, whatever your terminology is. It protects you, it guides you, it does the same thing for them. And you can impact them to a certain point. The rest is the job of the universe and them together. So there is a level of acceptance to where do you have control, where do you have impact, what can you do, and where do you need to let go? Because what drove me nuts was like, I was trying to protect my kids 24/7, and it's impossible. I had to relinquish power and say, universe, the same way that you helped me, healing and so many other things, please help them. And once I did that, my anxiety level went down. And I was able to help them more to come from a place where I wasn't always into fear. Because with your teens, if every single interaction that you're going to have is one of, you shouldn't do this, be careful not doing that, what you're doing is wrong, they're not going to want to interact with you at all anymore. It's a constant conflict, constant war. And even for you, I got to a point back then where I was anticipating that every single interaction would end up in an argument or a conflict. And it's not something that you want to go towards. So,
Yeah, it's not fun for either one of you. And they
no,
stop hearing you altogether.
yeah, they shut you down. You're talking to yourself. And acknowledging that even though they are immature because they're teenagers, there's still some wisdom in them. Try to connect with that. So that's where I work with moms to, first of all, calm down the fear and step into their strength, step into the connection with their own answers, because I don't have the answers for your kid. I have the answers for mine. Some women have very different approaches and solutions that I would have with my kids. But what I made sure, I had a mom who said, I'm going to send her to a boarding school. I said, if you feel that it is the solution, maybe it is, but you need to be solid in yourself to not have any doubt in you, because if you're doubting, if there is the tiniest doubt, when things are going to become rocky, you're going to change your approach, and that's more detrimental than anything. You need to have an approach that is constant. Otherwise, you're going to confuse them.
So do you do your coaching one-on-one? Do you do your coaching in a group?
I do both. I have women who come one-on-one when they are really in strong crisis. Usually they need the one-on-one because they need, I hold a sacred space for them. There is so much self-judgment. They feel so guilty because they don't know where their parenting has led their kid to do stuff like that. They don't know if it's their fault, not their fault. So they need someone who is non-judgmental. They need someone who's neutral enough for them to look at what they are so afraid to look at, because there is too much judgment. So teach them to remove the judgment and see where they can look at what they need to, adjust. And everybody makes mistakes, that's for sure. We're not perfect, but
No,
there is also
we didn't.
and looking at what you're doing that doesn't work and just adjusting it. So the first thing is really a space for them to say, it's going to be okay, I have what it takes. That's the major part at the beginning. And then from there, level by level, we remove every obstacle, every confusion, and I give them the tools to continue by themselves once we don't work together. The other thing that I do is I have a membership. So we meet at least once a month live. I'm now switching it to twice a month, where we have a live coaching session, usually on a specific topic that comes from what they're going through, the problems, the challenges, or wherever they want to go to the next level. And what I'm starting to do now is more like a Q&A or specific issues that people have to work in a group, because when we work and we see other people work and we tap at the same time, there is a benefit for us as well. Our story will talk to other people and their stories will talk to us.
Right. And there's power in the multiple mind.
Yes, there is a group energy. And I also have a library of tools where I have tapping sessions for example, calming yourself after an argument. For moms who work at home and they feel guilty to spending time on their business instead of their family, I have tapping sessions for that. I have meditations to connect with your ancestors or your guides or whatever you believe in to get your answers. I have all kinds of tools, brain training tools, so they can go and based on the need of the moment, grab whatever they need, do it with me on video because it's pre-recorded, and get to a more centered place. And I constantly add tools based on their questions, their challenges. They're very, very specific tools, like very specific problems, because that way you can go and grab what you need.
That's fantastic. Do you have on your membership website, do you have a library then of different tappings for different situations?
Yes. Yes. And the one I always remember is the one after an argument. Um, on the top of my head, I can't remember what I have, but I constantly create, so it's adding. And if people join the membership and they have a certain issue, they can suggest a topic for me to create a session. That's one of the benefits of the membership.
But I ask partly because if somebody knows that they could utilize your skills, they haven't missed anything by not being there before because there is a library
Yeah.
there, or you will create something for them at whatever point they choose to join.
Yes, and even the coaching sessions that are live every month are recorded and you can go on replay. We just did one on people or situations that drive you crazy. And we did a full hour of exercises to really go deep, deep, deep into, because when something makes us crazy, it's not about them, it's about us. It's something in us that we don't accept. And it's not always easy to see what it is. So I guided them with exercises to really go deep. And this week, for example, we're going to do a continuation of that because we're going to tap on the work that they did last time. And so it's really, I'm very proud of that membership because I really see the impact on people and I'm there to serve them. So I'm listening to what they say, I'm listening to their challenges, and I'm creating material to really help them.
Let me ask a question. Is what they need helping you with what you need with your children?
We have very common problems. And it's funny because when I work with women, I had two clients that I can remember. They said, how do you know what to say and how do you know where to go? I said, oh, believe me, I've been there. And I coach them because I have my own experience, but also why I call myself an intuitive coach is because our brain works with images, and images come to me that wouldn't necessarily be my own need. It's the need of the person that is in front of me. I remember working with a man once, and I told him to put the suitcase down that he was carrying with him. He said, how did you know? I said, I don't know. That's just the image that came. He said, that's the exact image that I needed. So I'm guided. It's going through me to help. To me, it's sacred work.
And that's why you're so passionate to share it. Can I ask a favor and have you show just one area that you do with your group, like an area where you tap for anger or an area where you tap for fear, so that people can get an example of the kind of
Yeah.
work you do with them?
So we can do something very general. Do you want me to tap here so people can?
Can you
Okay.
tap from there? Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have statements that are very general. For example, I'm going to say this anger. In your mind, you know what your problem is. You know if it's a person, a situation, you replace that wording with your story, because the more specific you are, the better it is. So before we start, you need to go there, because in order to work with an emotion, you need to feel it. And on a level of 0 is like, I don't feel anger at all. 10 is like, it's so overwhelming that I could punch someone. You need to be, don't go punch anyone. You need to be at a 5 or higher. So people are going to watch that on replay, stop the video, go into your problem and really feel the anger in your body. Don't worry, you're not going to stay angry, but it's important for you to do the work, because what happens is the anger is associated with that person or that problem. What we're going to do here is break the neural association so that that issue is no longer associated with anger, but with something more neutral. So pause the video and go and find that anger in you. So now I assume that you went and grabbed that anger, and we're going to start tapping. I'm not going to go in details in all the points. You can go on my YouTube channel. I have an introduction to tapping to explain why it works and what we're doing. What you're going to do now is just follow what I do. I'm going to tap on certain points with 2 or 3 fingers, and you're going to do the same. And I'm going to leave some blank space for you to repeat what I say. So let's go. So we start on the side of the hand. Even though I am really, really angry right now, I accept how I feel and I accept myself completely. We're going to repeat that 2 more times. Even though that situation or that person is making me so angry right now, I accept how I feel and I accept myself completely. One last time, even though I am furious and angry about that situation right now, I accept how I feel and I accept myself completely. Now we're going to go to the beginning of the eyebrow. All that anger with me. That situation that is unacceptable. Under the eye here on the bone. I am so mad about it. Under the nose here. I am so mad. I don't know what I could do. Under the mouth here. This is unacceptable. Then under the collarbone here in the soft spot. I have all this anger because it's unacceptable what's going on. Under the arm at the bra line. I shouldn't have to put up with that. Top of the head here. This is unacceptable. On the eyebrow again. All this anger in my body right now. All this anger in my body everywhere I go. Under the eye. I've been dragging this anger with me for so long. It affects my well-being. It affects my sleep. All this anger in my body is not good for me. I am so tired of feeling angry like that. And yet I am so mad and I cannot change it. I am so mad and I'm tired of feeling angry. It doesn't even help. Why should I be the one paying the price and being angry? It is not fair. Now try to find the spot in your body where you feel the anger. I'm going to pick a spot, but go with your spot. All that anger in my stomach. All that anger in my stomach. Try to get an image for that anger. I'm going to go with what comes to me, but go with what comes to you. That red ball, a red ball of anger in my stomach right now. It is a big ball. See if it is smooth or not. What consistency does it have? All that anger red in my stomach. I can see it and I can feel it. It is not good. I'm sure it even damages my body. All that red ball of anger in my body. I don't want it to be there anymore. I don't want to damage my health because of that person or that situation. I wonder if I could let it go. What if I could let it go? It doesn't serve anything anyway. it doesn't make the problem smaller. It only affects me in negative ways. What if I could let go at least the bulk of it? I'm opening to letting it go. I'm opening to letting it go. And if you're not there yet, stop the video and go back to the beginning, because there may be something that's preventing you from letting it go. I now choose to let it go. I choose to do what's good for me. I choose to let go of this anger and set myself free. It doesn't mean that what they're doing is okay. It just means that I choose me. It means that I take my power back. I don't want to let them grab my power like that. I'm letting go of the anger and I set myself free. I'm taking my power back. I now see the anger leaving my body and really get an image. How is it leaving? It can evaporate, it can flow out, it can disintegrate. Whatever comes to you is fine. I now see the anger leaving my body. I now choose me. Because I love myself, I let it go out. I start feeling better. I choose me and I'm proud of myself. I choose me and I'm getting freer and freer from that situation. I choose me and I open to possibilities. I choose me to tap into my resourcefulness to deal with that matter. I see an opening. I feel an opening. I feel hopeful that I will find a solution. After all, I am a resourceful, strong person. And I choose to tap in that in me. I am curious and excited to see what's going to come. And now take a deep breath. And on a 0 to 10, see where the anger falls now. And it should have gone down. If you see some people, when there is, like I said in the middle, sometimes you're not ready yet to let it go, you do another round of tapping to calm the brain down and get ready to let it go. Sometimes people, the anger vanishes like that. Sometimes it goes down to it's really minimal. The more you're going to tap on this issue with this emotion, the more you're going to be able to react in more neutral ways. And it's really, really, really useful for strong emotions like that. That's one way to tap. Now, there are many other ways, but
you can lead people through this for fear, for anger, for feeling hopeless, for guilt.
And the more specific you are about your problem, the more the impact will be magnified.
Yeah, no, it's great. I want everybody to learn ways to take their power back, because wherever they're at does not need to be where their story ends. They have the power to change it. So there's lots of different approaches in terms of how to get there. But I love that you shared with people how you can help them let go of these emotions that are weighing them down and not doing them any good. Years ago, Wayne Dyer called them the erroneous zones, the
yes,
things that we feel that do absolutely nothing for us.
true.
So,
And that's funny. You can drag stuff. I remember one of my clients back then. I think it was in 2011, something like that. She couldn't say goodbye to her father when he passed, and she was carrying that guilt with her for 10 years. And we worked on that, and we reframe, because what we're doing, we are changing the story, because our emotions come from the story we tell ourselves. So when you change the story and you see a more fruitful, a more powerful way to say it for yourself, you change how you feel.
you're free.
Yeah, you free yourself. It's really almost, it seems fantastic, but there is a whole scientific explanation to it.
So, tell people how they can find you.
So they can find everything at single moms, MOMS, doingitall.com. I have, so I have the membership, I have my podcast. I have a link to my YouTube channel, my Facebook group, because we do stuff also on Facebook for free for moms. Same thing, we recently tapped on getting annoyed and irritated by lazy teens. Because I asked moms, what is irritating you the most? And that was one of the topic that came up. So we just did lazy. We did before that the tone, the attitude. I'm going to do one on having to repeat 20 times the same thing, which can be irritating too. So stuff like that.
You have to do with teenagers.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't hear you when you talk.
I know. I know. They're somewhere else. It's not important for them, like cleaning their room. Oh well. Yes. So they can find everything there.
Okay, and I'm going to put all the links right underneath this so that we make it easy for people to find you. I know you're also on LinkedIn because that's how I found
I
you.
am.
So
I
if
am,
there's any
because
business women out there that want to find you, you can help them with their personal side of their life so that their family life can be more neutral, which
yes,
will help them then have their business life, which is impacted by everything that's going on in their lives.
completely. I've seen that for myself, and also they can get. I have a free kit for moms to go back to peace, and it's a three-part kit. There is a tapping session to calm down after an argument. There is a thought intervention visualization. I think it's 8 minutes, and there is a meditation to clear your. If people are familiar with chakras, to clear your chakras and your energy, because when you drag stuff with you, you're also more irritable, and you need to clear every so often.
All of which is important. I have a chakra clearing energy that I do that I'm actually going to do on Facebook and somebody else's group next week.
Oh,
But
great.
it's important because the chakras are the 7 windows to the soul. And by cleaning the energy that gets stuck in each one of your chakras, makes you lighter, brighter, and more able to cope with life in general. So it's really an important thing to do. I also use it sometimes for protection.
So I have, yeah, protection. I have, depending on my mood, because I don't like to do the same thing all the time. Sometimes I believe in angels, so I ask Archangel Michael to come and shield, because I do Reiki, I do energy work too, so I shield and protect before I work with energy. Uh, so I have that, and I have, yeah, energy processes for myself to protect.
Right. Because sometimes the dark is attracted to the light. So it's
Yes.
an important thing to learn how to protect your light so that you have something between you and it.
And
But
when you talk about protection with your teenagers, you know how teenagers sometimes they don't want your help at all. So what I did, I think it's in my Facebook group, I did a meditation that is also in my membership to teach moms to protect them on an energy level and to interact with them and help them with energy, because they refuse to get any other help. I've done that with my kids and I've seen the change. So it's powerful too.
oh yeah, energy is amazing. So those are important skills for everyone to learn, especially for moms with teenagers. I think that's probably the most difficult period of time for a mom to go through and have their children come out the other end as functioning, happy adults.
Yes, yes. Yeah, well, I think any age has its own challenges, but I guess the fear it can be a very strong uh, emotion during those years. Yeah.
Fabulous. It's been a great interview, Murielle. Is there what would you like to tell everybody that we haven't said?
What I would like to tell them is be gentle with yourself. Don't be too judgmental. You're doing your best. And as long as your focus is on doing your best and you are gentle with yourself and you love yourself, it's becoming easier and easier. But I think you cannot love anyone, not even your kids, if you don't love yourself first. It won't be a healthy relationship. So feed that self-love need that you have by yourself so that your cup overflows and you have more to give to others.
Right. And if you don't take care of you, you don't have anything left in your cup to give.
Yes.
So self-care is critical.
Yes.
So great. Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on my show. It's really been interesting. I love doing the tapping with you. And everyone make sure that you look Murielle up from the links that are below this so that you can learn more about tapping and how you can approach your life as a single mom to be happy, healthy, and successful. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Cheryl, for having me here.